Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. So today we are doing the Zepeda versus Farmer breakdown and prediction video. As undefeated and undisputed lightweight contender William Zepeda risk his mandatory as he stays busy to take on former world title challenger Tevin Farmer, as they will collide on the big Riyadh season Golden Boy card that takes place Saturday, November 16th, as they will be on the undercard. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. So this fight, if you haven't seen my breakdown videos before, we discussed the fight, what it means, and all that, what's at stake. Then in a non-title fight like this, we go into each fighter and ask the same questions on both sides. But in a non-title fight, we will just go to the A side first and then the B side second. So Zepeda first and then Farmer second. At the end of the video, I ask one final question and then I give my prediction on the fight. So let's get into it. We start with, what does this fight mean? What's at stake here? Well, there's a lot at stake. William Zepeda, undefeated and undisputed mandatory challenger. This is the first time ever in the four-belt era that we have the same number one contender in all four governing bodies. William Zepeda is number one in the WBO, IBF, WBA, and WBC. And right now it's being speculated that Zepeda is going to fight Shakur Stevenson in February on the big Riyadh season card then. But he's got to get past the former champ, Tevin Farmer. Tevin Farmer is coming off of a controversial, not controversial, he's coming off a close decision loss to Raymond Murataya when they fought a couple months ago. Very good fight. Farmer wants to prove that he's on the level, even at his veteran age, and he's coming in a huge underdog, and Zepeda's the heavy favorite. But one thing I'll say about Farmer, this is the first time Zepeda's been in there with a classic boxer like Farmer. So it's going to be an interesting matchup here. Really looking forward to it, and it's on a big card. So now we start with William Zepeda, and we look at what he's done rolling into the fight. And William Zepeda is on a serious hot streak. He's currently on a 4-fight knockout streak, but we'll look at his last 3 fights that date back to, let me see here. They date back to September of last year, 2023, when he took on Mercito Gesta. Gesta was coming off of his upset of Jojo Diaz, and Zepeda dominated him, stopping him in 6 rounds. Then in March of this year, he would face off against Maxie Hughes to become the mandatory challenger in the IBF and the WBA, and he would destroy Maxie Hughes. Hughes had to bow out in his corner after 4 rounds. And then he took on Giovanni Cabrera, who was coming off of an impressive performance last year against Isaac Cruz, and he destroyed him in 3 rounds with a body shot, knocking him out, and is just on a roll right now. He was trying to set up for the showdown with Shakur Stevenson is the plan, and he's got to go through Tevin Farmer. And Tevin Farmer is no Shakur Stevenson, I'll give you that, but he is an interesting template to use for the Shakur Stevenson fight. Southpaw, good boxer. It's an interesting matchup. But Zepeda's coming in confident as hell. He's the bigger man by far, and he's the younger man. He's 28, Farmer's 34. And then he has a 3-inch height advantage and I think a 2.5-inch reach advantage. So definitely the bigger man, and he's coming for blood. I think William Zepeda is hungry. I think he wants to waste Tevin Farmer and get him out of there. And that's what he needs to do. But what does he need to do to win the fight? That's the first question I'm asking here. Well, for me, he needs to just not completely overlook Tevin Farmer. Tevin Farmer, if you give him a little bit, he will take a lot. And he knows how to be crafty and slick. You saw that against Murataya. He has the ability to throw your rhythm off. So Zepeda needs to come in, use the angles, body shots like he's accustomed to, slow the older man down in Farmer. And if Farmer decides he wants to move, just use the angles and force Farmer into moving hard to where he's gassed by the middle rounds, and then just pick him apart. But he just needs to do a methodical breakdown, throw the punches, get Tevin Farmer to use up a lot of energy, and that's how I think he can beat him. Now, Can Zepeda win this fight by knockout? Absolutely. William Zepeda is a hard-hitting fighter. And again, he's very hungry. And I absolutely think he can win this fight by knockout. Can he win a decision? I think he can. I think he can overwhelm, outwork Tevin Farmer and win a decision too, for sure. What does a win mean for William Zepeda? Well, it gets him into the biggest fight of his career against Shakur Stevenson. So it means a lot. Is this the biggest win of his career? It's going to be arguable based on what you want to compare it to, other fights, but it's definitely going to be one of the biggest, and it's going to be a jumping board into a title shot against Shakur Stevenson, most likely in February. So it's fucking big. He needs to win this fight. What does a loss mean? A loss would be devastating for him. I think a lot of people, the jury's out on Tevin Farmer and how good he is. The jury is not out on William Zepeda and how good he is. I think a lot of people are very intrigued. I know I am, for him and Shakur Stevenson, that style clash. And if he can get there without any hiccups, he can really turn some heads, and we'll see what he's capable of. But a loss, if he were to lose to Tevin Farmer, it would be devastating to William Zepeda's career. He cannot afford to lose. So now we switch over to the B side, the former world title challenger, Tevin Farmer. We look at what he's done coming into this fight. And Farmer, returned to boxing after a loss back in 2020 to Jojo Diaz, where he lost the IBF title. He had some canceled fights with Mickey Bay that were supposed to go on in 2022 and 2023. Finally, in June of last year, he would return. But his last 3 fights date back to September of last year, when he scored a TKO victory over a guy named Oscar Barajas in round 6. Then he returned in March of this year and took on a guy named Alan Lucchese or something like that, and got a first round TKO win, another nobody. And then he got put in there in July against Raymond Murataya, who's the other undefeated feared competitor at lightweight. And he boxed his ass off. He actually was winning the fight, and then a point got taken away from him for holding, I believe. And after that, it just seemed like that really pumped Murataya up, and Murataya, the last 3 rounds, pressed the action and walked away with a close decision over Farmer. But Farmer's hungry. Farmer's here to play. I mean, him taking on William Zepeda right after a fight with Murataya, I think is a big deal. I think it means he's hungry. I think it means he wants it, and he wants to propel himself into the big title mix, and he's taking on the toughest guy that there is in terms of challengers right now, after taking on the second toughest guy in the division in terms of challengers. So really big matchup for Farmer, but I think he's hungry, and I think he's going into this fight ready to rock and roll and see what he can do. Now, what does he need to do to win the fight? He needs to box the most perfect fight of his career. He needs to throw off William Zepeda's rhythm the way he threw off Raymond Murataya's, but the difference is William Zepeda throws over 1,000 punches a fight. He's got to figure out how to slow Zepeda down. If he can catch him with something solid and really let him know, like, hey, I'm here and I got timed shots that can stun you a little bit, that would help. But it's just the counterpunching needs to be on point. He needs a box like he's the same age as William Zepeda, so he needs to be in some great shape. He needs to be able to just move, stick and move, counterpunch, use the angles and all that for the entire 12 rounds to beat William Zepeda. That's what he needs to do. Can he win this fight by knockout? I don't think so. Farmer's not a big power puncher. I don't see him being able to stop William Zepeda, but you never know. Maybe an accumulation beatdown type performance, maybe. But I really don't think he can win by knockout. Can he win a decision? Maybe. Maybe he can win a decision. He might be able to counterpunch him to a decision victory, so maybe. Now, what is more likely if Tevin Farmer defeats William Zepeda? What is more likely, a knockout or a decision? I have to say it's a lot more likely that he wins the fight by a decision, way more likely. And for William Zepeda, I think I missed that question on him. I think it's more likely that he wins by knockout, to be honest, but I do think he can win by a decision over Farmer. So what does a win mean for Tevin Farmer? It means everything. He's back in the serious mix. He probably replaces William Zepeda in the mandatory role in all four governing bodies and can control who he wants to fight next, which champion maybe. And maybe he goes after Shakur Stevenson for the title after a victory. So a win means everything for Tevin Farmer. It totally legitimizes his last part of his career right here, his twilight, and puts him back into the serious mix to challenge for a title in a second weight class. What does a loss mean? I mean, it depends on how he loses. Right now, after the Murataya fight, he's looked at as a serious but not so serious gatekeeper type deal. If you can get by him, you're ready for a title shot. That's kind of the way they're looking at him right now. You know, so, but if he, and a lot of people aren't expecting him to win. He's a very big underdog going into this fight, but that kind of gives you the nothing to lose type attitude. So, depending on how he loses, you know, it could define what he does going forward. If he decides to go forward, if he suffers an absolute beatdown, retirement might be on the forefront. But if he goes in there and shows a great account of himself, really competes in this fight and shows the world what he's made of, he can kind of own that that kind of what do you call it, gatekeeper type role, you know, and make some more money that way. So we'll see what how he looks. But a loss, it hurts, but it depends more how he loses. Now, final question. Is it better for boxing if William Zepeda wins this fight, or is it better for boxing if Tevin Farmer wins? And that's easy. It's way better for boxing if William Zepeda wins. He's undefeated. You don't know how good he is. He throws a shitload of punches. He has a lot of power. And he hasn't been there and done that yet. He's still ready, and it leads to a huge fight with Shakur Stevenson that a lot of people want to see. For Tevin Farmer, not the same. Light punching, more of a boxer. You know, doesn't have the attractive style, and he's already been there, done that. You kind of know what you're getting with Tevin Farmer already. Maybe he's different now. Maybe he can drink from the fountain of youth and pull this one out against all odds. I'm not saying he can't, but it's definitely better for boxing if William Zepeda wins this fight. So now, my prediction. Who's going to win this lightweight contest between William Zepeda and Tevin Farmer? And I cannot see William Zepeda losing this fight. Just stylistically, how many punches he throws, his body attack, his work rate, the fact that he's the bigger guy. I think he's going to hurt Tevin Farmer, and I think he's coming for blood, and I think he's going to get Farmer out of there by the middle rounds. I really do. But Tevin Farmer is one of those guys with that kind of style that if anybody could throw off William Zepeda, it's going to be Farmer. But here's the kicker. The fact that Farmer looked good against Raymond Murataya, I think was detrimental to Farmer taking this fight, because William Zepeda is not going to overlook Tevin Farmer. I don't believe he will. I think he knows that Farmer almost knocked Murataya off his block, and Zepeda wants that fight with Stevenson, and he wants the big fights with Tank Davis and Vasily Lomachenko. So he's coming for blood against Tevin Farmer. I think he's going to go for broke. I think he's going to go right after him, and I think he's going to fight smart and set himself up. And I got him scoring the knockout. But I do think there's a chance that Tevin Farmer can pull off a decision, upset victory. Maybe. But I have a hard time seeing it. I think the fact that William Zepeda is a huge favorite is valid, and I think he's going to show everybody why. But we'll see what happens. So that's it. That's what I got. That's my Zepeda versus Farmer breakdown and prediction video. As undisputed lightweight mandatory challenger William Zepeda is taking on former world champion Tevin Farmer in a lightweight contest on the Riyadh season November 16th Golden Boy card that is taking place on DAZN, as this fight is going to be part of the undercard. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing, and you've been hit with the truth.